Hi guys, this is Ali from Lunch with Ecommercevilla, and we are back again with another super exciting episode. And today we have Pradeep with us, and this guy is he is a champion. He talks about the mindset also. So this is gonna be a very exciting episode, and there are going to be so many things to learn. So hi Pradeep, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I've seen a person like you, a very young man, doing well across Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I said, "Who is this guy? Let me message him." And I'm honored that you can have me on my podcast. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. I think it's an honor to have you also, in my podcast. So Pradeep, I mean, just tell us your story. How did you get to the Amazon? Where did you start from? And tell us your story.
Yeah, before I get to Amazon, I need to tell you, and I'm very particular on this because I talk to a lot of kids, government schools, public schools around the UK, talk to a lot of communities about my early life and how that's actually helped me realize, how the world works and what we actually do.
Yeah.
So I was born in Kuwait because my parents were migrants to Kuwait from Sri Lanka. They're from Kuwait. They went to Sri Lanka, and then we suffered a lot as a family because we're minorities, and the war affected us. So we lost everything in the war in Sri Lanka. So my mom risked me, smuggled me on a plane to London, and it was hard growing up in London. Very hard. The government gave us a very hard area to grow up in. It was very rough. I was only one of the few Asian boys. So, a lot of people listening are Indian, Pakistanis across the world. They know social housing. They know how migration works. It's tough. It's a
Yeah.
tough early life. And people used to come to me to fight. And like every other Asian boy, I didn't run away. I stood there, punched back. I fought back. Um, so I was in this habit of fighting. And growing up, I was always fighting. I was always getting into trouble. I didn't get into too much trouble. Thank God, nothing illegal or anything. But I was a tough kid, and I loved lifting weights. All I did is weights. I get into trouble, eat food, rice and curry, get into more trouble, go home and sleep. Right, and
Yeah.
I didn't care too much about schooling. So schooling was nothing to me. So this mindset kept up with me because I had the wrong people around me. Right. And
Yeah.
then at 21, I got into a serious fight. I got hit on the head on this side. I got into a coma. I was in a coma for 4 hours. I didn't see God. I didn't see no one special. I just woke up and said, "What am I doing? Where are all my gang friends? No one's there here in my hospital bed, right? It's just my parents are suffering still. I need to do something." So I knew biology very well. I knew it because I was weightlifting. So I made 3 phone calls, and one small university professor said, "Come, tell me your story." I said, "Look, professor, I made these mistakes, but I like biology. I love it because I weightlift." He gave me a chance. He said, "Do this small test." I done the test, and he said, "You're a very good student. You're a clever guy. You're natural, a bit of natural talent." But for us, we didn't know any university career or anything because my family didn't have much, right? So I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, let me do this." 3 years, I became one of the best in the university, right? I said, "Oh, I said, this is scaling. This is scaling. How to scale from zero to nothing, right?" I said, "Okay." I said, "Let me aim higher." Then I got a scholarship to Imperial College, right? Then I got a scholarship to do a PhD at Oxford. So from no high school, I went to Oxford in 5 years, right? So in Oxford,
Awesome.
I done my PhD, and it changed my life. In Oxford, I was around rich people who worked hard, people who had privilege, kings, queens, politicians. Everyone I was training there, and it changed my life and viewpoint. It made me think very philosophically. Then I said, "Listen, I need to scale and take more risk, right? How do I do this, right?" And I said to my professor, "Hey, I done this amazing story. In 2017, I was the first one to win the British, European, American Young Scientist Award." I said, "Okay, look, I need 300 million for 3 drugs." They said, "You're a crazy guy. You're 27 and you can't get this money, right?" They said, "Go away." I said, "Okay." I said, "What do I do now?" I applied for Harvard. So from no high school, I went to Harvard in 7 years. I went to Harvard, learned something. I went to Paris, Sorbonne, learned something. I went to Hebrew, learned something. I learned from the best mentors, right? So I was learning about mentorship. Then I came back to UK. I said, "Hey, I done all this." They said, "No, You're still too young. It doesn't mean nothing. So now it's a numbers game. And I'm going to come back to Amazon very quickly. I made
Yeah.
272 phone calls, 272 phone calls. One guy picked up in China. He said, your CV is good, come to China. I packed my bags, I went to China. In China, my professors in the West told me it will take 30 years to do your goals. In China, I done it in 18 months because of two things. I realized people and scale and budget, three things. So I was doing very well in China. Then someone came to me and said, hey, you're a very clever guy. Can you go to my biotech and develop business? I said, okay, let's take the risk. So I was a scientist. I had no EBITDA, no profit margin, no, I don't know anything. I said, let's just do it, right? And then I took over European and Middle Eastern operations. I grew the company by 80%. I went around picking up distressed pharmaceutical assets, bringing back to China. That company exited at 1.6 billion after I left, right? So I done my part there. And then this is where Amazon kicks in. It's a long story, but it's about risk. So when the pandemic hit, I was stuck. They sellotaped me in my room and they said to me, "Hey, you can't go out." So I was eating on my app. I was using water bottles to do weights. I was pulling up in the dry cleaning line. I was doing my pull-ups, and then they finally let me out, right? And let me out, and they said, "Pradeep, all foreigners can only eat in one hotel." So I went to this hotel, and I'm the only foreigner left in Suzhou. My parents are phoning me saying, "Hey, you got to get out. People are dying. We're seeing on the news." I said, "I can't see anything." I was sitting there alone, no family, no friends, and I saw people. So when you see people, you have to network. I said, "What are you guys doing? All these big fat Chinese men." They said, "We are factory owners." I said, "What do you own? What do you do?" Toys, face masks, wooden or the silicone. I said, "This is great." I go, Where do you sell this?" We said, "We do something called e-commerce. We sell on Amazon." I said, well, at this point, I'm doing business development. Let me see your numbers. That blew my mind off, Ali. 300,000 a day, 200% ROI. So I said, in 3 days, I used VPN in China. I started my company, e-commerce company in the UK. I started doing e-commerce. We started selling toys, face masks, pet supply, anything I can get of. My family phoning me, my mom and dad, I think you call them Amma as well, right? Amma's phoning me, say, hey, you got to get out of China. People are dying. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm learning how to do Amazon. She's like, what do you mean Amazon? And then I came back to the UK. I was still doing science at the time, high level. I
Yeah.
went to the UK company. I said, hey, science I done so much now. Can I get a job at the same level in China? They said, no, you're too young and overqualified. I said, this is crazy. I said, forget this. I quit everything and I started doing e-commerce full time, probably 2.5 years ago. So we do three things. We launch our own brands. We buy, acquire brands, particularly look at distressed assets, and we can touch upon that later. And also we do now a consultancy where we do A to Z management. We keep it very boutique and use our own clients. So that's what we do at the moment. So it's a long story, but it's a mindset. You see, you
Yeah.
you come from nothing. Zero doesn't mean anything. You scale very quickly. It's about systems, and it's about people. It's about taking risks. It's about getting the right mentor, and it's about networking. If you can put all this together in any field and do it quick, you'll succeed. So that's my story to e-commerce and life so far.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. You touched on a very important thing. How many calls did you make before you got a call from China?
Two
272?
272. Before that, I got rejected for the Oxford PhD for 47 times, Imperial
All right.
Scholarship 13 times. So every time I realize a numbers game. The bigger you go, the bigger the rejection. So you have to go to it. Oh, can I tell you a story? The
Yeah.
272 phone call, the one guy, you know what happened, Ali? This guy had my C. Okay, one guy in Quingo, Northern China, had my CV, right? He's like, what?
Yeah.
Oxford, Harvard, why the hell is this guy applying here? You put it down on the table. And then his associate dean, his second in command, came to him and he said to him, hey, talking, la la la. And he goes, what's his CV? He goes, he picked it up. He goes, Oxford and Cambridge, what? I mean, Harvard, why is this guy applying here? It makes no sense, right? And then he goes, wait, I got a friend. Let me phone a friend. So my CV on someone's table, someone picked it up. Then they phoned another guy, and that guy phoned me and picked up my phone call and gave me the job. So you make your own luck,
Yeah,
That's how I got the
absolutely.
job.
Yeah, that's a huge number. Making 272 calls and before getting the work. I mean, you need patience, and it's a numbers game. Even Amazon is a numbers game. We will touch on that part also. So Pradeep, you are doing three things. You are running your own brand as well. I would like to touch you on the distress assets part. Like, where are you finding those brands which are struggling, and how do you connect with them? How are you doing that actually?
So a distressed asset, let me just clarify, it can be anything that's declining or in negative, but not toxic. In the business world, there's distressed asset and there's toxic asset. Toxic asset cannot come back, you cannot do anything. So be very careful. And there's a fine margin. So distressed asset, anything that's declining in a negative or healthy but declining, and you can see how you can turn it around and have a plan for it. How we're finding it is come back to my networking. So I network a lot. I go on these podcasts, I meet people. If your calendar is not packed, you will not succeed. If your calendar
Yeah,
is packed, even if it's bullshit meetings, right? People say it's bullshit meeting. Even if it's packed, is good. I tell you a story. When I first
yeah,
started e-commerce, I realized I need to know everyone because everyone is doing everything. Agency here, Pakistan here, US here, UK here. So every day, every website e-commerce agents, I went and made an appointment. Zoom call introduction. Everyone is there. Lawyers, accountants, in e-commerce.
yeah,
Everyone can give you a free consultation call. Everyone gives a free call about to explain who they are. So for like 3 months, every day I had someone. I'm calling every hour. I'm talking to someone. So every agency, every person, everyone in the e-commerce space, I knew because I took a call with them. I booked a call. That's how I understood. So when I made friends and I see them in the scene again or good calls and stuff, they're like, hey, Pradeep, you're doing this. So you can do this and stuff. Can you do digital asset and so forth? So my network is strong. I have brokers, I have factories, I have manufacturers, I have 3PLs. I have so many people coming to me saying, hey, this guy's got this ASIN, this guy's got this product, this brand is gone. Hey, can you help us take this one? So that's how I get distressed assets.
that's awesome, awesome. So how do you work your way through? I mean, a distress asset means it might be even in a loss, or it might be a little profitable. Coming to the Amazon, what are the action steps that you take once you buy that distress asset? Like, what do you do? Do you start working on his sourcing, or how do you do that? What's the step by step process that you take once? And before that, you just tell us that what are the things that you look at before buying the distress assets?
Yeah, so we don't do any of this after we buy. We do a lot of the work before we buy, right? That's the most
Yeah,
important thing.
exactly.
Um, so we actually, my team and I have probably a 3 to 4 hour call, like couple of times for each ASIN. Sorry, I've just got. It's very cold here. Sorry. So we do a lot of calls, 3 to 4 times for one asset. We talk every time. We talk for 3 or 4 hours, and we say, hey, let's look at this business. And I look at it first. If I don't like it, go away. So we're
Yeah,
looking for classical things like there's sales, there's enough thousand reviews or more, or some kind of decent number of 500 reviews or more. There's traction. There's at the moment we're looking for 100,000 above revenue companies that have done it once and are declining, right?
yeah,
And then we go back, and this is a secret, Ali, and this is before I even talked to you. I told you before, it is not the PPC or the listing or the ranking we see problems in. Those things are easy to fix. We see problems in the back end, operationally, what's happening, 3PL, sourcing, logistics,
yeah,
human resources, consultations. All this is messing up the numbers at the back end because people have done so well during the pandemic. They do not understand how to run a tight ship with tight numbers. So those things are going wrong, and people are saying, hey, what's going on? I can't keep the same margins. So most of those things are on the back end, and most of the things I believe is sourcing, logistics, and 3PL. And we fix that, and we go back and say, hey, we can get a cheaper price in this factory, or we can ship it in here, we can store it here, and we do very well in those. And then, of course, at the other end, if there's images that we need to correct, PPC listing, we can do that. But those things are very easy. That's very tangible on the screen,
Yeah.
right? But the foundation is what we fix.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically, it's the basics that you have to get it right. I mean,
So,
in terms
I,
of, yeah,
yeah, so we talked about case studies. I can give two case studies if you want.
yeah, that will be great.
So one of the distress assets we saw is we're looking at the distressed asset, and I said, "Hey, what's this number? Right?
Yeah,
This unit seems too much." By the way, we did not buy this, but this is a classical case study. We see because it's extreme. I said, "What
yeah,
is this?" Right? And I asked the owner, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's a price for cogs for one of our units." I said, "Oh, and by the way, this brand was very close to being brought by aggregator, but because the aggregator stopped purchasing, they pulled out of the deal. They were in the last step of signing the deal. So the brand was, so even the aggregators didn't see this, right?"
yeah,
So I said, what is it? It looks very expensive, right? The cogs for this item." They go, "No, no, it's okay." I said, "You know what? I signed the NDA with you. I'm not going to steal your product or your factory. Can I contact the factory?" Okay, yeah, you contact the factory, okay? So I contact the factory and I send my guys in China and so forth. And I contact and I talk to them, we chat, and I get translations. And I said, "Can you break down this cog? How much is the wood? How much is this pin? What does this cost? What is your factory cost?" And I realized, right, there was a frame for the product, and the
yeah,
frame, this company, this factory, shipped the frame to another factory to do the printing for the brand label, ship it back, and they fix it, and then they ship it to Amazon. And that
yeah.
process cost $17.
Oh,
$17, right?
all right.
So with that $17, I worked out that you can ship the whole unit air express to America and still save money per unit. So the fix was very easy. Get a sticker and put it on, or label it from other end, or so that's a cog deficiency. So
Yeah,
very specific question on cogs, and that was a huge problem we had. So and we see differences in cogs and sourcing because people are sourcing too easily and they're not breaking it down. And in the profit and loss statement, it just says 48 $48 per unit, but you don't know what 48 how much 48 is broken down to. So that
yeah,
should be 48 take away 10. It should be what, $31 per unit or 32, right? So that's
yeah,
how you break it down. That's case one. And case two, we see that logistics is a huge problem.
yeah,
Um, what we saw, case two, another example is human resources, right? So we saw a company that's spending 160,000 pounds, dollars on a person. And I asked them, "What is this, right? Why are you spending?" He's like, "No, no, this guy used to be the head of US Army operations. He used to send tanks and bullets into Afghanistan, Iraq." I said, "Great, but you don't need this guy to send 10 nations to America, right?" Right? This is stupid, right? So people are doing human resources all wrong. And another company we see, a third case study, is that we just looked at, we said, no, $123,000 on consulting fees, on gurus and consultants. So people are spending too much on too many things because they're attracted. The eyes are attracted to people talking. So I said, you need to cut human resources. So these are the things in the back end that are going wrong, and that a person that's acquiring distressed assets can correct easily. And then correct it even more with PPC, listing and ranking and so forth.
yeah. I mean, awesome case studies. You definitely had them, and increase their bottom line a lot. So Pradeep, we were discussing it at the back end as well. I mean, you are not sourcing it from the Alibaba, right? Right? You are actually, you have your own ways how you are sourcing the product. Why do you think that? And do you think that there are sellers out there in the China where you can get a better prices? If maybe you can use any sourcing company there for that. I mean, just touch on that point also, that why you are not using Alibaba and you are using local suppliers there.
So this is okay. Number one, I was lucky that I lived in China,
Yeah,
and I got a good network, right?
yeah,
Number two, doesn't mean my network can do everything. So I did use Alibaba when I came back to UK to for one or two products, right? Then I realized this is
okay,
stupid, right? I said this is stupid. Number one, also Alibaba takes a huge fees from the manufacturers, so that's crazy, right? Because people
yeah,
will not, so people would like you to come to them straight. So this is where I have a saying: business is not a transaction; is a human interaction. You need
Yeah.
a lot of human interaction. Everyone's human; they want to talk. So get WeChat, understand Chinese culture. If you can't go, I tell people go to Chinatown and look at them how they talk, how they interact, and understand how they're working, right? And what you need to do is with your own manufacturer, if you have a relationship, this is what I've done. I had manufacturer. I said, hey, someone I really talk to every day. I said, hey, Helen or Mr. Lee or someone. I said, why don't you become my sourcing guy? You have your job, but source for me as well. We'll pay you
Yeah.
and so forth. So I made a network around China and also now in Sri Lanka, India, and Turkey. I have my own sourcing network now. And I
Awesome.
built that off relationships that I kind of built by using things like Alibaba in the start. But I built people, and then with the sourcing, then I discovered, I told people to check. Now I have a checking and quality control team as well that can go and check anywhere in China.
All
So
right.
that's how you do it because I can guarantee you this: there's one price for Chinese people and there's another price for you, right?
Yeah.
So if you can get a Chinese person to source for you, you will have a better price. I can guarantee you this. And
Exactly.
Alibaba is not the way. Alibaba actually is not bad. Alibaba can tell you, what factories are, who the factories are, but then you get your people to go there and talk, and you get to leverage them. And
Yeah.
everyone can talk to someone at Alibaba now. All you have to do is, hey, can I have your WeChat? Go to them on WeChat, say, hey, I like your product, la la la. Also, I like all this another product. Can you go now and go and check this factory? Give them five cents uh, per unit, or give them $10, $15 per hour, whatever, something cheap to get
Yeah.
them motivated, so they become your sourcing networks. So that's how you build a sourcing network. And also, as I said, I'm very lucky. I had the factory as friends in China as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, like, are you also providing any sourcing services in your company? It,
Yeah, we do the whole A to Z. So if
yeah,
you don't know anything, you can come and say, "Here's some money," and we will find the product that needs to launch. We'll source it for you. We'll do the quality control. We do the check. We do the branding, imaging, everything. We launch on Amazon, A to Z compliant, everything.
yeah.
VAT, the whole. You ought to sit back. That's it. Enjoy.
All right, all right. So, I mean, like, what's the company name? If somebody, let's say, I mean, that's happening, with a lot of, like, everybody is using Alibaba to source the products. Doesn't matter if the seller is from the USA, he's from the UK, he's from India or Pakistan. If everybody is going to the same direction, it means that you won't get that competitive advantage, right? So, if there are ways where you can get better pricing, maybe by contacting Pradeep company, I mean, that's a huge advantage that you can get, right? So, I mean, what's your company name? If somebody wants to reach out to your sourcing part, how can they reach out?
Yeah, so my company name is called Donsfield, Donsfield, Donsfield. Email is PKS, my name, my initials, PKS at donsfield.com. I'm sure we can link the stuff in your at the bottom of this video. But let us know if you need sourcing, and we can work with you to get the right sourcing and quality.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, no, let's talk about the numbers also. I mean, if there's somebody who is just an investor, is not a manufacturer, what do you think are the right margins that, I mean, different people have different mindsets in there. Some people say that your selling price should be, 4 times more than your lending cost. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that also?
So it used to be 3 to 4, right?
Yeah.
Now we say 8 to 12.
Oh, yeah,
The
exactly.
reason why it sounds stupid. You can get it with 8, but 12 is better, right? The higher end. The reason why we say this is that because PPC and Amazon fees and numbers are always changing, and everything is just there's something always happening to the cycle. So you need to
Yeah,
plan a product out where there's 3 quarters. I always say 3 quarters ahead, not 4 quarters. That's 1 year. 3 quarters ahead. So by second quarter, you're still in a profit. Third quarter, you're still there. By fourth quarter, you launch another product to help your brand have the margins. Because what happens is there's inevitably 3 to 4. It will not be enough because things will change down the line. So we're talking about yeah, 8 to 12 times landing cost. If that's too much, minimum eight. I say at the moment now, um, because it's a hard market and we think there's more changes coming.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, it has become important. Before, if your selling price is four times more than landing cost, it was good margins. But now with all that cost coming, the Amazon advertisements getting competitive.
And
I yeah,
yeah, and sorry to interrupt, you're right there. But when I say 8 times, it doesn't mean that we have some cheap product. That means branding with a high quality branding, packaging, customization, the QR codes that can do, you can have user generated content, you can have direction, everything highly customized. So the product itself is expensive. So that's why it should be 8 times more, because you have a very unique selling product that can sell. We're not talking about just the polythene bag packing and just come there.
yeah, yeah, completely understand that. I mean, you touched on the bit customization part as well. I mean, differentiation is another factor that is gonna be crucial to any seller success, right? So, do you have any tips or anything that you do for the differentiation part, or how do you work your way through? I mean, you have to differentiate your product. It's very important, right? So, how do you do that? Do you look at the existing sellers' reviews and then you make it something, or how do you do that in that regard?
Yeah, we do that. We also try to buy brands and companies that have synergistical products, and we launch. So when we buy a distressed asset or brand or launch a
Yeah,
brand, we don't have one product. We have three products in line that come with this brand. So we launch a hero product. We know that someone customer will be like, oh, okay, this product I need to buy with this, right? Or it is closely associated with it. So we differentiate our brand because we have multiple products that are closely associated. So it allows the customer to spend with us and not spend with someone else. Differentiation is not two products that differentiate. That if a customer has $100 budget and you have to buy it with Pradeep's brand, they will not go to another brand, right? So
yeah,
differentiation can be also sequential launches of brands. Now, if you're in a very competitive market and you want to differentiate, the
yeah,
easiest way to do that is actually spend more money on Western style imaging and marketing. Very simple, right? When our team and I now look at assets, we'll say, oh yeah, this is Chinese Eastern style, or this is Western style. So we know that what kind of Western branding is needed. No, um, no cut and paste Photoshop images, all authentic images, all with models, all with expense. This is where the guys or girls that run in the company had to spend money, right? You
yeah,
differentiate that product as well, and also adding value through bundles is very important. We find so that's very important, and give away something that's actually essential for the product with the customer base as well. So that's also a differentiation factor as well.
yeah, exactly. Bundling the product, maybe having a better packaging. If everybody's giving the product in a poly bag, maybe you can give it in a box, nice box. All that stuff is important, right? Anyway, Pradeep, like have you noticed anything that what price point is working well in Amazon in terms of selling the products? Are you finding lower price items giving more profit, or high ticket items? Do you have anything to say about that also?
Yeah, we don't see any difference, to be honest. We have an
Okay.
audience that will buy low, the audience that will buy high end to premium products, right? So
Yeah.
we are not seeing a massive difference. What we're actually fascinating is that we've done a couple of tests, and this might be cheeky. We've sold the same product in different branding strategies at different price points. It's the same damn product, but different marketing strategies, and we see no difference in sales. So one can be at $12 and one can be at $48. Same product but different brands, and we saw the $48 doing as well as $12, right? We done that because we wanted to see if there's a shift in the uptake at $12 and it can increase ranking more quicker. Um, so we don't see a major difference in our testing. A lot of people say, "Hey, do premium have margins?" Yes, they're right, but there's always going to be an audience that actually buys at all price points. It's how you cater to them and how you catch their eyes and convert them. Obviously, the algorithm might favor a cheaper brand, but if you're there and you actually perform, you don't need to, you don't need to be the top of the rank. You can link around from 3 to 8 or 5 to 12 and still make sales, right?
Yeah,
So that's very important because then you can have a very good leveling off. People always want to scale like this. Sometimes scaling, okay, keep level, then launch a new product, keep level, launch a new company, keep
exactly.
level. It's never like this all the time. This will just eventually the ship will fall. You cannot scale. There's always a point of attrition. So that's very important to think about when it comes to pricing.
Yeah, yeah, got you. You're absolutely right. Anyway, Pradeep, how do you see the future of Amazon? And do you think that, I mean, yes, it is getting competitive. More and more brands are coming with a lot higher budgets. But what do you think about the demand side in terms of the customers? I mean, do you think that there are going to be any other marketplace, maybe Walmart or Shopify, or I mean, what's the future of Amazon sellers? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
so
this?
so if you're on LinkedIn, follow me. I'm always posting on Amazon. I think
Yeah,
3 or 4 days ago, shared the statistic that in 2024, all of e-commerce will double still, and it's going to be get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that
yeah.
can include Amazon, Shopify, BigCommerce, all these other. Walmart will definitely get stronger. We see Walmart's user age range much younger than Amazon. So we think e-commerce are here to stay. So you're in the right space. Now, in terms of Amazon, yes, the US market will get more competitive. I think the German market is always the second biggest. They might have a dip during this winter, the next 2 quarters, but they're higher. We see big pushes and growth in Amazon or e-commerce in the Middle East. Uh, Also a country that no one mentioned is South Africa, which is getting their act together. So that's also, a Western-faced country with their logistical problem, but they're coming better. Australia is still ripe for the picking. So is Canada. Japan declined a bit, but still, there's some space there as well. So it's always going to be tough because major players will have more money, but it doesn't mean you can go off somewhere around the world like I did. If the US and UK are not giving you opportunity, you go to China. So there's always opportunity somewhere in the world, and you got to take it and see if your product works in that marketplace with your budget. And I'm sure there's always something that will win somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So Pradeep, I mean, in term of no, let's touch on the ranking part as well. PPC is definitely everybody is doing. Almost everybody either they're gonna do it themselves or they're gonna get somebody to run PPC. What are you doing in terms of the ranking? Or are you only doing PPC based launches, or you are maybe using any external traffic as well for the ranking part?
No, we're not doing anything special. If I was, I'll definitely tell you. We're doing very aggressive PPC kind of spend at the start.
Yeah,
Um, some brands, when we re-rank them, when we have distressed assets, we're using more of the user generated videos a lot more. I think that's helping a lot.
yeah,
So that we're doing that for the ranking is helping a lot as well. And also we're trying to get micro influencers, not the big influencers,
yeah.
micro influencers in a specific niche to drive traffic into Amazon, which is we're doing as well. So those are three things. But there's no special wow hack or tactic, but it's something that's working for us. And it's about just keep doing it and plugging it away.
Yeah, yeah, great. I mean, you touched on those micro influencer part. I mean, how are you finding those micro influencers, and what's the response? Do you think that you are getting a good return by using influencers?
I think so. You have 10,000 to 50,000 followers, even 100,000. I don't know. Some people say it's micro, but those kind of niche followers in a niche products, we get good response rate. And normally they want they want the product for free, and they don't charge, right? And it depends who you're going for. And yeah, the response is good. The bump is good. Hey, you know what? If we get a 500 sales or 300 sales compared to zero, we're happy because it gives us more reviews and the algorithm responds better.
Yeah, absolutely. Even I can tell you one further. One of my client, what she does is like she makes organic TikTok videos, and when she launched her product on Amazon, there was a time when there were 8,000 people just searching for her brand name, and she makes all those videos by herself. And some of her videos gets to a million of views as well. Some of her videos gets 1.5 million views as well. So I mean, and the fact is that I think even if you look at the future, I think Amazon, for in the Amazon space, branding is going to be more important, and you have to build an audience as well. You have to make people to search for your brand name also on Amazon. That is going to be important. Branding is becoming more important because if you have the, because this will give you a huge competitive advantage as well. So yeah, Pradeep. Yeah, I think it's already 35 minutes. I think it was really wonderful having you, and you have a really great story. And you are somebody who talks about the mindset. Not many people are talking about it, and I think it's very important to touch on these points as well. And especially, I mean, the stuff you talked about in the sourcing part, that now, especially with the rising PPC cost, with the rising Amazon fees, you have to your selling price has to be 8 times more than your landing cost, and it's difficult to get. I think it's going to be quite difficult, provided you are also have a competitive price on Amazon as well. I think it's going to be quite hard to get this amount of margin, but if somebody can get this amount of margins, I think the chances of success are going to be really high.
And also landing cost also doesn't mean that you have to pay for it fully, right?
Yeah,
So you have to negotiate terms, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. We've negotiated 120 days sometimes, with 30% upfront. So if you put 30% upfront, that 8 times margin is massive by the time you pay it back, right? So
yeah.
so landing cost, that means also how much time you have to get it into Amazon, sell it, and then pay the supplier. So that's very important to know as well.
Exactly, exactly. Anyway, so if anybody wants to reach out, can you tell us again? So put it down in the link also.
Yeah, it's Pradeep Kumar Sacitharan, my name, on LinkedIn. Connect on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is PK Sacitharan. And if you want to email me, it's pks at donsfield.com. We'll put everything on the link, and we're here to help you. We're here to help and serve
So yeah, so your email is pks
at donsfield.com.
at down.
No, I'm just gonna write in the chat now.
All right. I'm gonna copy it. So if somebody wants to reach out, they can easily do that, right? So you sent it in the chat.
Yep,
Yeah, all right, I got it.
private chat.
Yeah, so Pradeep, thank you so much for coming. It was really wonderful having you. And hope to see you soon again.
Thank you very much. You're doing a great job, Ali. And we're gonna catch up soon again. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Bye bye.